we're going to be doing a reaction video today. What kind of reaction video, you ask? Which is a bunch of... Never, just get to it. Yes, this video may be a little emotional. But let's jump to it.
Heinous crimes just seems impossible, but believe it or not, there have been more than a few cases of juveniles committing crimes so horrible that they were actually tried and sentenced as adults. These cold-hearted kids whose offenses would make the bravest of us shiver in fear were, however, unable to hide their emotions when they were given strict sentences. Some cried and wailed, while others only offended the judges and juries even more by their pretentious behavior, but all of them were made to pay for their wrongdoings. Here are 20 most dangerous kids reacting to serving life in prison. 1. Roxana Sikorsky. Roxana was a Plymouth Township teenager who pleaded guilty to plotting to take the lives of her family. Back in 2014, the 15-year-old...
Excuse me. Could you give an explanation why someone would massacre their parents? Tell me. Why? Please just tell me at this point. I'm having a loss of words at this point, guys.
Conspired with her older boyfriend to take the lives of her adopted parents.
Okay, just because of your, I don't know, boyfriend, bro, that does not mean you, kill your parent. Oh, my. Oh, bro, seriously. Like, who does that? Oh, people, not people these days.
Parents and the younger brother. Prosecutors charged Sikorsky as an adult for the attempted attack, but her parents defended her, saying she suffered from a mental illness and was under the sway of her 23-year-old boyfriend, Michael Rivera. Roxana started out as an ideal child who just began acting out when she hit adolescence. She was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder and was put on medication. She met Rivers on Facebook, and her behavior became worse as she began sneaking around with him. She even ran away with him for a few days and was found at his house. She apparently wanted to take their lives because the parents filed a statutory assault complaint against Rivera. On October 17, Rivera planted himself outside the family's home and texted Roxana instructions on what to do. The teenager attacked 12-year-old Lucas, and after attempting to do the same to her sister, she fled the house, but...
Are you serious? What? Why? Why? Oh my god, bro, seriously. True, I actually agree with you. Person, whoever you are in the comment, I agree with
you. Was arrested at Rivera's home, where she told the cops that they were planning to get married. She was tearful during her sentencing. She apologized to her family for all that she did.
Yeah,
she
was
trembling and weeping. Her remorse was quite visible, but that didn't stop the judge from sentencing her up to 20 years behind bars for the crime she committed. 2. Lionel Tate. Lionel Tate is perhaps the youngest American citizen to have received a sentence of life imprisonment for his crimes. The boy was 14 years old in 2001 when he was convicted for taking the life of a 6-year-old Tiffany Eunuch in 1998 in Broward County, Florida. Tate's mother, Kathleen, was babysitting the two.
Anyways, despised. Why would... Never mind. Why would you kill a 6-year-old child? Like, how much of a low life do you need to be to do that? Like, such a low life.
Children, when he decided to leave the boy alone with Tiffany to take a short nap upstairs. His lawyer defended him, saying that the 12-year-old boy weighed a whopping 165 pounds and was just playing with the 6-year-old girl. He argued that Tate accidentally hurt the girl while he showed her professional wrestling moves. Her liver was lacerated as a result of the blows. She also sustained many other injuries, including a skull fracture, fractured rib, and swelling in the brain. The prosecution stated that the girl would have sustained similar injuries if she had fallen from a 3-story building. Judge Joel T. Lazarus sentenced Lionel Tate.
Now I will tell you Ray on your smartphone. To do this, you need to install a special mobile application with the X-ray
To life in prison, saying that his acts were not that of a playful child. He behaved in a cold, callous, and cruel manner towards Tiffany. Tate remained mostly expressionless and silent during the sentencing. In 2004, a state appeals court overturned his conviction on the basis that his mental competency had not been evaluated, and eventually he was released on 1 year's house arrest and 10 years probation. 3. T.J. Lane. T.J. Lane was a 17-year-old juvenile and a former student of Chardon High School, and on February 27th, he took the lives of 3 Chardon High students and injured 3 others. Witnesses stated that Lane had personal problems.
Okay, who would... Okay, he has personal problems. Why not just talk it out or try to negotiate first? I mean, why not just try to negotiate? Instead of grabbing a Glock and go bang, bang, like, no.
With one of his
Just
victims.
talk it out.
He used to ride the same bus as the victims to school. The boy used a .22 caliber handgun. 2 of the wounded students were hospitalized,
Why?
and one of them sustained injuries that left him permanently paralyzed. Lane was indicted on 6 counts, but because he was 17 years old at the time he committed the crimes, he was detained as a juvenile while the authorities decided on whether to try him as an adult or child. He took the lives of Danny Patmerton, Russell King Jr., and Demetrius Hewlin. And he wasn't not even sorry for taking
he's
3
not even
lives.
human.
He arrived
He's
wearing
a
a blue button-down shirt, but when
a
he
monster.
sat down,
That's what
he
he is.
unbuttoned it and revealed the shirt he was wearing underneath. It was a white t-shirt with the word killer written on it. He was given a chance to speak to the court, but he only made the situation worse for himself by saying some incredibly hateful things to the victims' families. He even laughed at the mother of a victim while she made a statement. Lane pled guilty to all the charges and given 3 life sentences without parole.
He deserved
4.
it.
Antonio Barbeau. Antonio was just 14 years old when the court sentenced him to 36 long years in prison.
He did
The boy
it,
was
so-
convicted for taking the life of his 70-year-old grandmother in what seemed to be a blitz attack.
Tell me.
He used a hatchet to assault the poor.
Why? Why? Oh my gosh. Okay. Why? What? Why would a grandson grab a hatchet and go to their grandma's house and smack him in the head? Why? Just why? Just please, just don't do that, please. Like, he didn't have a good thing to say. Like, okay, he's like, oh, I want to go smack my grandmother with a hatchet. Like, why?
Old woman. He
God,
was visiting Barbara Olson's home
I thought
along
he's
with a
kid-
friend
I thought it was
named
supposed to be
Nathan.
not
The 2
drop-
boys
instead
were
of
planning to
dropping
steal
the
money
soap,
from her house.
playing
They plummeted on her
Fortnite in
using a hatchet
Minecraft.
and a hammer. The entire community was shocked by how mercilessly and brutally they assaulted not just any woman, but Antonio's
You know,
own
playing
great-grandmother.
instead of dropping
When
the
Antonio
soap,
was
but no,
sentenced,
we
he was
got
given a
he's
chance
men-
to
he's
read
a
out his
menace,
statement,
just-
but he was too emotional
God,
to
he's
finish it.
literally a menace
He burst
to
into
society.
tears while speaking as the severity of his punishment dawned on him. He was unable to keep going, and his attorney stepped in and read the
Yeah, he's
statement
probably
on his
sorry he
behalf,
got caught
who also got
probably.
tearful while doing it. Reports stated that Antonio's grandmother had invited the 2 boys inside her home in 2013, not knowing what they would do to her. Judge
What?
Timothy Von Akron said that the
I have
36-year
advice
sentence
for
was a
you,
minimum punishment
grandparents.
for what Antonio had done.
In case
He also
some
confessed that
grandparents
he had
are
never
watching
seen anything like
or
this
parents.
horrendous crime in his 24-year-long
If your kid's acting
career as a
weird,
judge.
like he wants to go, I don't
5.
know.
Stuart Harling. Stuart
kill
Harling was an
someone
introverted
and
teenager
talk
who
with,
spent
and
most
have a
of his
talk
time
with
in the
them.
virtual world of ultraviolet computer games and inappropriate websites.
Hey,
No
no.
one knew that in the
Hey,
darkness
no,
of
what
his
kind
room,
of
he was
inappropriate
plotting to
websites?
be a famous serial
What?
killer. The 19-year-old abandoned his family
Or
and career in accountancy
another
and
certain
dedicated
type
himself
of
to a
stuff
fantasy world.
that
But soon,
you
he
guys
realized it
don't
wasn't
wanna
enough,
know.
so he decided to take the life of the 32-year-old Cheryl Moss. He later told psychiatrists that he decided to become a serial killer after watching a documentary on the infamous crimes of Rick.
Okay, out of all the idols you have, it has to be no, it has to be a serial killer. Seriously, it has to be. Why can't you have any other idols, like good idols, like, I don't know. Let me think of one. I don't know, Bob Ross. Or have another idol, like, I don't know, instead of killing people. That kind of idol. Just have, like, I don't know, become president. Say it goes like, become president. Become a businessman. Sell patents. Etc. Not that. Yes, I have a little bit of cold. It's fine. In case you're wondering why I have a blanket over my nose.
Richard Ramirez, who robbed 13 people of their lives in the Los Angeles area. He explained that he felt nothing while hurting Mrs. Moss. To him, she was like any other animated enemy on a computer screen in...
Okay, maybe if you're a parent and your kid wants to do this, take his video games away from him. Parents. Like I said, we got this man is born from Fortnite, I'm pretty sure.
one of his games. Judge Brian Barker sentenced the young man to a minimum 20 years in prison. He also spoke to Stewart and said that he had demonstrated that his horrifying actions meant very little to him. 6. Jessica Carline. The 17-year-old Jessica crashed a car into the Wyoming Medical Center, and as a result, 2 people lost their lives.
Do you not know?
She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of vehicular homicide. In September 2024, Carline was driving a vehicle
like
eastbound on
terrorism
2nd
to
Street,
me.
approaching the Wyoming
Okay,
Medical
we'll just
Center,
want to
when
crash
the
into a
vehicle
hospital and
swerved
run
over the curb
people over.
and hit a sign just in front of the hospital and the building itself.
Why?
27 years old Brandon Avery and Amanda Strickland, also 27, died because of the injuries they
Why?
sustained in the crash.
Okay,
Carline
first
was
of all,
also
you're not
injured, but she
18. You
survived.
shouldn't be driving
Later
in
on,
the first
investigators
place.
discovered a can of air
Well, it
duster
says
inside
she's
the car,
16 to
and
drive.
in an
I bet
interview with the police,
16
Jessica
to
admitted
drive.
that it made her high. It was also determined that the
That's
car
why
was
you're
going
supposed to
as fast as
take a
76
driver's
miles per hour
test.
at the time of the collision.
Oh.
No one was wearing their seatbelts either. The judge sentenced her between 12 to 16 years of
She
prison.
deserved that.
Jessica was
She deserved
incredibly
it.
emotional at the trial, and tears could be seen rolling down her flustered face.
Yeah,
while
maybe
she
you
spoke
shouldn't
in
crash
court
into
and
hospitals
displayed
and
her
run
remorse.
people over.
7. Caleb Sharp. Caleb Sharp was the perpetrator of the Freeman School shooting tragedy. He was sentenced to spend 40 years in prison by the judge. He pled guilty for taking the life of a classmate and injuring 3 others in the 2017 Spokane shooting. The students were in the hallway when he assaulted them. The courtroom was full of people the day he was sentenced. More than 200 people shared impact statements and urged
Okay. So she just went into a school with, I don't know, a minigun, just like bang, bang, bang. Who does that?
Judge
Literally,
Michael Price
who does
imposed the
that?
maximum sentence before he sentenced the young man. The defense attorney
I'll
asked
do
for
it.
a
I'll
20-year
give him a
sentence,
chair
but
if
the
I were you,
prosecution
Judge. I'd
proposed
give him a
35
chair.
years to life. Sharp will receive credit for the 5 years he's already spent in jail. Prior to his sentence, he apologized to his victims and to the mother of the boy, Sam Strahan, who died in the shooting. He asked for their forgiveness while speaking to the court, though he didn't react or display any emotions when the sentence was announced. 8. Bever Brothers.
Oh God, now it's
Back in 2015, 5 members of the Bever family were found dead in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. 2 family members, a 2-year-old baby girl and a 13-year-old.
Who would want to kill a baby?
Year-old girl fortunately survived. The older girl identified two of her elder brothers, Robert, who was 18, and Michael,
Okay. What brothers would want to massacre their own family? Like, why?
who was 16, as the assailants. The two young men were eventually arrested and were charged for their crimes. According to his testimony, Robert wanted to become a famous serial killer. He pleaded guilty to the charges against him.
You can become famous for many other things besides that. Besides killing people. Like, who wants to do something like that? Nobody. But you, low life, decided to do that.
In mid-2017, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Michael Beller also
deserve
gave
it.
a frightening testimony and was convicted by the jury. He was sentenced to
This was
5
Donald
consecutive
Trump.
life terms.
He did.
Michael
Donald
initially
Trump.
smiled when sentence was read, and then wiped his eyes. Besides that, the brothers remained emotionless. 9. Alex and Derek King. The young Alex King appeared to be a well-spoken, neat, and sharp boy in court. Looking at him, no one think he was capable of committing a heinous crime. The 12-year-old Alex, along with his 13-year-old brother, took the life of his own father, Terry King, on November 26, 2001. The two boys beat their father with an aluminum baseball bat and then set fire to the family home in Cantonment, Florida. A family friend named Ricky Chavez was also convicted for being accessory to the crime as he hid the boys in his trailer. Terry was 40 years old at the time of his death. The two boys claimed they did this to put an end to the mental abuse they suffered at the hands of their father. According to them,
Go to
he
an
would stare them
orphanage.
down and spank them. Going out of their way, prosecution tried both Chavez and the boys for the same crime.
Okay, let me explain. Who would want to grab a baseball bat and beat the life out of their father? Why? I get he was abusive or so-called mentally abused you. Well, there's like still no need to beat the life out of your dad with a baseball bat. Seriously, guys. Like, you never such a low life, bro.
Crime. Chavez, however, got acquitted, but the King brothers were convicted. Derek King was sentenced to 8 years in prison, while Alex received a 7-year sentence in 2002. At the age of 18, Alex was released after serving 6 years, and Derek was released in March 2009 at the age of 20. The boys calmly testified in court, and during sentencing they stood still, expressionless with their heads down. 10. Philip Chisholm. Philip Chisholm may have been a 14-year-old boy, but he committed heinous crimes that landed him in prison for life. He assaulted and then took the life of his own math teacher. Colleen Ritzer was a Danvers high school teacher.
I get school sucks and all, but you don't do that to teachers. Oh my. You don't do that to your teachers. Teachers are meant to teach you stuff. Like, I get they teach you useless information and all, but that does not mean you do that to your teacher. The teachers, just trying to do, they're just trying to do their job, that's all. They're literally just trying to do their job for crying out loud. God bless America.
Who lost her life at the hands of her own pupil. Salem Superior Court Judge David Lowy described Chisholm as brutal and senseless when he pronounced the sentence. He also stated that Colleen Ritzer lived a life of quiet heroism, and the crashing waves of this tragedy will never wane. Philip's lawyer argued that he was mentally ill, but this contention was rejected by the jury. He was sentenced to serve life in prison with the possibility of parole in 25 years. He also received 40 years concurrent sentence for the abuse and robbery charges. Chisholm's mother, Diane, sobbed quietly when he was sentenced. She also apologized to the Ritzer family for what her son had done. He stood in front of the judge with a poker face, showing no emotions and expressing no remorse for his actions. 11. James Fairweather. James was also one of the sadistic teen criminals who fantasized about becoming a famous serial killer. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison for stabbing 2 people. Both.
What's up with the obsession with people wanting to become famous serial killers? What's up with the exception? My God. For real. Bro, seriously, man. Bro, my God. Bro, seriously. How much of a menace you gotta be for that? My gosh.
Both of his victims lost their lives. His first victim was James Atfield, who had a brain injury and was assaulted by Fairweather in Colchester, Essex on 24th March 2014. 3 months later, he struck again, and this time the victim was Nahid Al-Mania, a 31-year-old Saudi student at the University of Essex. James was apprehended while planning a third assault in May 2015. He confessed that he was responsible and pleaded guilty for both the killings. He was just 15 years old at the time he committed the crimes and attended Colchester Academy. He was a victim of bullying for his prominent ears and also struggled at school partially because of dyslexia and autism. He explained what and how he did it without displaying any signs of remorse. He tried appealing the sentence on grounds of his age and mental functions, but it was rejected. 12. Nehemiah Grigo. Nehemiah was just 15 years old when he took the lives of all his family members, including both his parents and 3 younger siblings. He assaulted the 5 innocent people using 2 different weapons. In October 2015, Nehemiah pleaded guilty to his crimes. Because he was a minor at the time he committed the crimes, a family court judge...
Okay, let me guess. Let me guess here. He probably used a gun, and I don't know, flamethrower maybe, I'm assuming.
proposed sentencing him accordingly, but the prosecution appealed this, and the decision was overturned in 2019. Garrigo was sentenced as an adult. He agreed to speak to the police without a lawyer present when he was arrested. He said that he was angry at his mother. He faced a sentence of up to 120 years because of the multiple victims, including children, but he was ultimately sentenced to 3 concurrent life sentences, with credit given for the 6 years and 285 days he'd already served. He had to spend 30 years in prison before being eligible for parole. He stood calmly while the sentence was read, but he did apologize to his family when he spoke to the court. According to reports, he was quite soft-spoken and emotional. 13. Dylan Shoemaker. The Springville teenager was convicted for taking the life of his girlfriend's toddler son in 2013. He was 17.
Whoa. Did you just say toddler? He killed a toddler? But why? Why?
Years old when he was sentenced to 25 years in prison for robbing the 23-month-old Austin Smith of his life. Dylan was babysitting the little boy and his infant brother while his...
How can you rob a baby? For crying out, how can you rob a baby? Tell me, how can you rob a baby? That's impossible.
His girlfriend was at work. According to the prosecutor, he muffled the boy's face with a pillow and struck him because he wouldn't stop crying. Shoemaker was deemed a manipulator and deceiver by 13 witnesses before he was sentenced. He cried in the courtroom but people were not convinced, and neither was the judge. His crying was considered a show put on to convince the judge for leniency. Everyone said that Dylan got what he deserved. He pleaded for mercy, but he didn't show any to the poor defenseless child whose life he took. 14. Damon Kemp. The 19-year-old Damon from Florida was charged for taking the lives of his 2 roommates. He appeared in court in a wheelchair, grimacing and screaming like he was in immense pain, but the judge did not fall for his show and refused to grant him bail. Damon actually ran to a police officer investigating a home invasion in Jade Park apartment homes and confessed to taking the life of his...
¿Vive en Florida? Si es así, puedes conseguir un secuestro.
His friend. When the police learned his address, they drove there and found a bullet hole in the door and a shell casing on a stair nearby. Inside were bodies of Trey Ingraham and his friend Jordan Payton. Both the victims were also 19 years old. Police also found the weapon he used about 50 feet from where they had found Kemp. The erratic acting Damon was captured on police body camera confessing to assaulting Trey. His behavior continued on his first appearance in court too. He screamed and shouted "God" while being wheeled out on a wheelchair. Later on, it was revealed that he wasn't mentally ill. Instead, he was under the influence. 15. Mary Bell. Mary Flora Bell was just 10 years old in 1968 when she took the lives of 2 preschool-age boys in Scotswood.
Hey, why would you kill a 5-year-old? Let alone a preschooler? Like, why? Just why? Just please tell me why.
an inner suburb of Newcastle. In both cases, the young girl told the boy that he had a sore throat and offered to massage it and then strangled them. In a trial held in Newcastle Assizes in December 1968, Bell was convicted for both the deaths. In the trial, her actions were judged to have been committed under diminished responsibility. She also had an accomplice, a 13-year-old Norma Joyce, who assisted her in at least one of the crimes, but was acquitted of all the charges. Mary Bell still remains Britain's youngest female killer. She was also diagnosed with psychopathic personality disorder, due to which her charge was changed on grounds of diminished responsibility. Her trial lasted 9 days, during which Mary Bell and Norma both testified in their defense. On December 17th, the jury retired to consider the verdict, and after almost 3.5 hours of deliberations, they reached a decision. When Norma was acquitted by the jury, she was elated and clapped her hands in excitement. But things didn't turn out so well for Mary Bell, who was convicted. She burst into tears when she heard the sentence. Her mother and grandmother were also grief-stricken and could not keep themselves from crying. She was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, effectively an indefinite sentence of imprisonment. But after serving 12 years, she was released at the age of 23 and was granted lifelong anonymity by a court order to protect her identity and that of her family members. 16. Austin Myers. Austin Gregory Myers, along with Timothy E. Mosley, took the life of 18-year-old Justin Michael Back on January 28, 2014, in Waynesville, Warren County, Ohio. They assaulted the poor young man at his family home
Okay, well,
because
that's
they wanted to
definitely
steal a safe
Ohio.
from his house. Their case
That's
received national
definitely
media
in
attention
Ohio.
because of the discrepancy in sentencing of the two young offenders. Myers and Back went to the same middle school and were childhood friends. The plan was for Myers to distract Back so that Mosley could attack him. Myers knocked on Back's door, who let the pair in. They
Why
talked
do you
for a
knock on
while,
the
but when
door
Back went to
and
the
kill
kitchen, the
him?
two criminals assaulted him.
You gotta be
After
out
he
of
was
your
dead,
mind.
the two criminals searched for the safe and found it in a closet. Afterward, they tried cleaning up, but later ransacked the house, loaded the stuff they'd taken in Mosley's car, and left. Mosley, who used the knife to take Back's life, was sentenced to life without parole. Austin Myers was given a death sentence. He became the youngest
Okay, you already
inmate
took
on
the
death row in
stuff.
Ohio.
That
Austin was
should be
definitely
enough.
shocked
Oh
at this
no,
and
you gotta
pleaded with the judge
do
to
be a back
overturn
and
his
stab
sentence.
him in the
His
back.
words may have been apologetic. His tone and his expressions were completely blank. 17. Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire. The two 12-year-old girls, Morgan and Anissa, were arrested for attempting to take the life of their friends in order to honor an online horror character famous as the Slender Man. They lived in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and decided to lure their friend, Peyton Leutner, into a forest. The girls stabbed Peyton a total of 19 times in hopes of appeasing the fictional character. Peyton, however, managed to crawl to a road where she was found and taken to a hospital. Fortunately, she survived the vicious attempt on her life. Despite being found not guilty by mental disease or defect, the two girls were fitted to mental health institutions. Lear was sentenced 25 years to life, while Geyser was given 40 years to life. 7 years later, Geyser was granted early release, but would...
Guys, I'll do a part 2 on this by finishing this up. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.